Hey there, good morning everybody, and good evening to people in other time zones here. Good to be with you. We're coming to you with our Humanities Team Live program in our new spot, Wednesday mornings, beginning at 9 a.m. Pacific. And you can see who our special guest is here on screen. I'm going to give him a proper introduction shortly, but welcome, Neil.
Thank you, Steve. It's lovely to be here, and thank all of you for showing up. It's nice to know that you're with us.
Yes, it is. And we're going to have a lot of fun here during the next hour. Neil and I were just chatting about all the things we're going to get to, and boy, get ready. a lot of important and fun conversation that we're going to get to. We're coming to you live. So, Neil, where are you coming in from?
I'm coming in from Ouagadougou in Central West Africa. No, not really. I just brought that up. I'm coming from my home in Ashland, Oregon, where I always telecast from, and we are going to have a lot of fun here today, or we better, because if we don't, I'm out of here. In fact, I'm out of here now. This is not any fun at all, so goodbye.
Yeah, I think I saw a show like that where somebody walked off the set. I forgot who the person was. Let's not get to that. This is a fun program. We don't want to get to that. I'm coming to you live from our studio here in Boulder, Colorado. I'm here with Jim Gray. There's a whole bunch of Humanities Team colleagues and partners backing me up. We'll introduce them at the end of the program. So an exciting program here in store. Our theme is changing humanity's future. So a big, big theme. This is, as we were just discussing before coming onto the air, this is the very first program that Neil and I are doing focused just on this theme. And you're going to see a lot of discussion between Neil and I and Humanities Team on this subject of changing humanity's future. It's a big theme for 2022. It's a big theme for humankind and the planet. So we're gonna launch that discussion here today. Now, I want to shout out to all the Humanities Stream Plus folks, the Humanities Team people on our Facebook pages, Neil's Facebook page, John Raymer and the Sign Network. They're broadcasting to their the different nonprofit and for-profit organizations that are picking up this program. So to all of you, thank you for being here. We appreciate it, and I think you're going to enjoy this hour-long program, which is going to go fast. Now, as we always do, this is a live program, so I can see I've got a screen here just behind the camera where questions and comments are brought in. So anywhere during the program, when you want to shout out to Neil about something, just put it in the chat there on social media, and we'll bring it to Neil. The earlier that you reach out to us, the more likely we'll be able to get to your question or comment. So let me give Neil a proper introduction here as we get started. Neil Donald Walsh is a modern-day spiritual messenger whose words have touched and continue to influence the world in profound ways. As a co-founder of Humanities Team, Neil Donald Walsh has been a dear friend of both myself and the organization. Neil is the celebrated author of the Conversations with God series, with seven books hitting New York Times bestseller list, and seeing that the books translated into 37 languages, touching millions of people and enabling them to live more fulfilled and connected lives. Today, Neil is joining me to discuss changing humanity's future and the vital role of conscious living as we seek to secure prosperous and peaceful days to come for all of us. So this is for us individually and for us collectively. So I'll welcome you again, Neil, now that I've introduced you properly here. And now I can't hear Neil. I wonder if it's just me, hopefully, out on the panel.
No.
There we go.
I think that, yeah, now you should be able to hear me.
Yeah.
Our producer was having fun telling me what he would and would not allow me to do. But I had muted myself because I wanted to make just a tiny bit of noise. Then I saw a note on my screen: the producer will not allow you to mute yourself or to unmute yourself. So he was whatever. So, but here we are. Now we can hear me again.
Okay, good. And good to have you on the program here, Neil. So let's just jump into this whole changing humanity's future thing. So there are many ways to kind of talk about this. The way I often bring it in is that I've been a part of conversations on back porches and front porches with family and friends, where this whole discussion comes up of, my gosh, look at all of what's going on in the world today. It doesn't look like we're headed in a very productive direction. I wonder what the possibilities are for ourselves and our kids and future generations, and it just is kind of a conversation that goes nowhere. And I've yet to be in a single conversation where the notion of conscious living surfaces, unless I bring it in. So this was one of the things that we've been talking about here. So Neil, let me just bring that into you. So people all over the world are clearly concerned. I guess that's good news. What we're going to do about it, maybe there's less clarity on that one, huh?
I think you're right. And the condition right now is that the messages surrounding conscious living have not been really put out there in large measure by the message delivery systems that we have on the planet. I mean, media, and television and radio, and even with the internet, very, very few places can people find information on this. So the result of which is, Steve, that what I see is that many people, and we're not talking about a few 100,000, millions, probably billions of people, are walking around the earth not knowing who they are, why they're here, what the purpose of life is, how they can negotiate life and navigate through life's various experiences, and what the point of it all is. And much less do they have access to the tools, the many wonderful tools that are available. This is the sad thing that I see, Steve. I don't want to bring a downer in at the beginning of the conversation, but it is sad to me to notice that there are tools available. It's not that the tools aren't out there. There are many tools available, but people don't seem to know where to find them and how to access them. So what we do need to do now, all of us, is to offer educational opportunities for people who really are sincerely wanting to know, what can we do as a species to change the direction in which we're moving right now? Clearly, the direction in which we're moving is not where we want to go, but we don't seem to know how to stop ourselves. Steve, we can't even stop ourselves from killing each other when we disagree with each other. We haven't even found a way to stop humanity from allowing 653 children to die every hour of starvation on this planet. We can't seem to change the conditions that we're experiencing. We're all watching it happening on our screens, and we're just tisking, tisking our way through the day and assuming that there's nothing that can be done about it. But there is something that can be done about it. And if we all join together as a team, we can actually cause that first domino to fall and change humanity's future. So that's what I hope we'll be doing here with these programs that are now being offered by Humanity's team.
Yes, that's exactly what we're going to be doing with these programs. And Neil's going to be coming in quite frequently here during the year. We've got communications that are going to be going out. We have changinghumanity'sfuture.org.com.net. Neil ran out and has reserved those. So get ready. There's just a lot coming. It's interesting that Conversations with God Book 1 came out over 25 years ago. And it started laying down the tracks of there's something really quite simple here. It's literally right under our nose. We're calling it here conscious living, but we could call it awakening to oneness, or living in unity consciousness, or the new spirituality, or there are many names, integral framework. So it really doesn't matter what exactly we call this. We're using conscious living because a lot of people actually relate to that. Even mainstream people are like, yeah, I like the notion of living consciously. So we're giving more and more definition to that of what exactly we mean. And even here, this isn't doctrine, right? So these are the 10 things. We have to do these 10 things. It's not doctrine or orthodoxy. It's not. It's just, in fact, I just invite viewers right in this moment. So it's certainly, feeling into our connection, right? We're not separate. This is something that we've been spending quality time with for 25 years, longer than that actually. It's an age-old truth. This notion of communing with the one, which could be our meditation practice or our prayer or walking in nature, again, artistic expression. There are many different ways that we can do this. But the interior, where we know that, as it says in Conversations with God, if we don't go within, we go without. So these are some of the key dimensions to living consciously, and there are others. I would add, as I look out at the world, when we're living this way, we see the sacred. We see humankind that are all expressions, emanations of the one. They're on their own journey to self-actualization or self-realization, whatever that journey might be for them, whatever their journey is as they define it. We see the earth that is alive and conscious, and plant life and animal life. So it's just as we're looking out into the world, it's just a whole different view. As you know, I came from Silicon Valley, where it's more of a mental, emotional thing of we're going to get that top line growth here today, and we're going to get that bottom line growth today. There's a different priority. So this is what, as we're talking about changing humanity's future, it's literally as simple as just living consciously and the ways that we do that. And again, there's not a doctrine. There's not like some one way or something. There's incredible diversity to this, right, Neil?
Yes, that is correct. But it all does hover around a singular notion that there is a way for us to be aware, to be just totally aware of who we are, why we're here, what we're doing, and why we're doing what we're doing. You know, Steve, what's interesting? I lived most of my life until I was 53 years old, not knowing why I was doing what I was doing or what I was here for, why I was on the earth, what was the point of my being here. Much less was I aware of my intrinsic and true relationship to everyone else and to everything else. It took me 50 years of my life, more than that, to get to a place of clarity around that. Thank goodness I had a personal sacred experience that I chose to call Conversations with God. And I kept a record of it, but it allowed me to just become aware. It was almost, I hate to be so trite. I know people use the phrase a lot, but for me, it really was a period of waking up. I felt like I was waking up from a dream. I was living in an illusion for the first 50 years of my life, where I thought I understood what was going on and why. And it turned out that it had nothing to do with the ultimate reality. Much more did I know that the ultimate reality was one of unification, that I was really connected with everything in life. Not just other people, of course, but not just other people. I mean, the trees outside my house, the grass, the flowers, the planets, the universe, all that is all things are one thing. There's only one thing. And all things are part of the one thing there is. And Steve, I know that sounds like a lot of words, but when one starts to live into and to experience that as one's inner reality, the way we move through life changes, at least in my case, dramatically. Suddenly, I understood why I was doing what I was doing and what I came here to be and to experience in life. And I'm convinced, not to talk forever, please forgive me for going on, but I am convinced that this change in my life is what caused me to even live as long as I've lived. A personal note, most of the members of my immediate family, all of my brothers and my mother as well, left their physical expression in their early 60s. Here I am approaching 80 and still here. Never would I have imagined that I would still be, but I'm certain that my longevity, I can owe it to the fact that something changed around 27 years ago when I realized, oh, I see. Now I begin to understand. So we have to ask ourselves a question today, and I would invite everyone who's watching this program to ask yourself a single question. Is it possible, just possible, that there's something we don't fully understand here about life, about ourselves, about the thing that some of us call God, about the whole experience. Is it possible that there's something we don't fully understand here, the understanding of which would change everything? If you think we have all the answers, it's all there, there's nothing more for us to discover, then okay, fair enough. We won't have anything new to tell you here today. But if you think maybe there's some more, maybe there's more here than meets the eye. Or as Shakespeare wrote, there are more things in heaven and earth, Horatio, than are dreamt of in your philosophy. So if you're open to the idea that maybe there's more for us to discuss, to explore, to discover, and to experience, then stay with us for the rest of this hour, because I think you'll find it fascinating.
Yes, you will. And boy, this is that was beautiful, Neil. And this is not somebody could watch this program and think, oh, this is kind of interesting, and just kind of watch it out of the side of your eye. But what we're talking about is actually ultimate reality. This wisdom, which is in conversations with God, but now science is affirming this wisdom. Now, Sim Harriman's unified field theory, which is, he hasn't formally disclosed, but he's been leaking it out little by little by little on his Resonance Foundation site and in the workshops and things that he's doing, is affirming this, that he talks about oneness, and he's a physicist, and he's got a team of scientists and mathematic researchers that work with him, large teams, and he's saying exactly what Neil is saying, that we're actually all one. We can say it's a whole body, and that whole body, we could call it the universe, which scientists might like to call it. Actually, Conversations with God is talking about this interchangeability, right? Call it universe, call it God, call it the divine, call it love, call it life, call it what you want. But there's one body.
A rose by any other name is still a rose. So you're right. It doesn't matter what we call it. But the real issue is not. I mean, the real question to me, it seems, not that whether we are all one, not that if there's only one thing. A lot of people, when they hear that, say, okay, fair enough. Maybe I can go there. But the real issue is not, do we live in an experience of unity and oneness where all things are expressions of a single thing? The real question is, what kind of practical application does that have to do with everyday life? What does it mean to us as we walk down the street, as we move through the days and times of our life, as we interact with others in our experience, as we interact even with our beloveds, our family, and the person who's living with us, if there is that kind of a person in our life? What does it have to do with how I'm living my day-to-day experience? That's the real question.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's where the rubber hits the road. And what I love about the science thing, which was not my path, incidentally, into this, it was Conversations with God, was my path into this. But the science thing is saying, they're using the word which usually you use for, like, the founding fathers, when the United States was created, a sovereign nation. So the scientists are saying we're sovereign to one body, which now the implications here are huge, because if we don't know that and don't practice that, and if we're out just kind of, oh, I think I might want this and I want that, and I think I'll pursue the old American dream thing, which isn't all about being sovereign to one body where we're in service to life around us, because that is the body. Where we instead go in the direction of treasure, of, well, I think I want to get this, bigger this, and better that, and another this, and so on, which I could see in Silicon Valley. And there's a lot of upset. There's a lot of, why am I not happier about this? I've hit the lottery here, and I'm not feeling totally fulfilled. Well, because we're not then mindful of what now science is telling us, that we're sovereign to a body, which means that when we put ourselves in service, like Neil, where you're saying, to what we do in direct application with our partner, with the grocery store clerk out in the world, when we do that and we live this way, and where we understand we're sovereign to that body, which means in service to it, then all of a sudden we find this elusive happiness, this fruitful life, these things. We sleep well at night. Our conscience feels good. So
suddenly life starts to make sense. Conversations with God put it to me in a very simple way. What I do for you, I do for me. What I fail to do for you, I fail to do for me, because we are all one. And, I began to understand that functionally, that is operationally, as Steve just said, with the clerk at the grocery store, with the person across the room, and with the person around the world as I begin to react to worldwide events. How is it that we live in a planet that does the kinds of things that we're doing to each other? Because we think that we're doing it to someone else. Our priorities are really strange. And only in the end do we realize that it's all going to fall down back on us. So there really is only one of us. And if we start acting as if we are all part of the singular family, we would change the direction of humanity forever. And that's the way in which highly civilized societies move forward with their experience of their collective reality. We can do that here on this planet as well. I was referring to life on other planets, by the way. We're told that there is, of course, intelligent life in the universe. Maybe not here on Earth, but but there is intelligent life elsewhere in the universe where people understand. But one guy wrote a book called The Three Musketeers, a Frenchman. I think his name is Dumas. And he wrote a book in which he said, all for one and one for all. What a glorious idea. What an extraordinary notion. All for one and one for all. He was so far ahead of his time. But now it's time for us to join in that notion and to begin to live with each other as if we were all part of the same family, because we are.
Yes, we are. And so changing humanity's future is just, we're talking about this in the application of each of us in our own lives. But if we extend this out, of course, what we're saying is where we do this together and where we make conscious education available, transformational education all over the planet in all of the key languages, where we can just, because there are many paths to the mountaintop, there are many dimensions to conscious living. There's healing trauma, there's bringing higher love into relationships, there's conscious leadership. There are hundreds of thousands of paths to the mountaintop in terms of best practices that we could talk about in living consciously. So this is part of this whole initiative where we talk about changing humanity's future and elevating conscious living as the thing that's literally right under our nose, that changes our whole future, where we just literally hold hands and connect hearts with people all over the world. We start living this way. And these, as it says in Conversations with God, these little bubbles start coming to the top, and which is those of us that are doing this together. And then before we know it, voila, the whole pot has come to boil, where we're all kind of doing it together because it feels good. There's no sacrifice, it feels good. Neil, one of the pieces of this that we talk about, I've seen you give really powerful presentations on the notion of inviting people to be idea heroes. Do you want to just bring that in as a dimension?
Well, what we're talking about really is a notion about how to live with each other and what's true about life. Oh, and by the way, we haven't said it yet, but this is my personal point of view, and I'm going to bring it up as we talk about idea heroes. Not only are we one with each other, not only are we one with the earth and all the living things, living animals, the trees, everything that lives, really, it's all part of a single system, simply demonstrating in individual form. But we are also, in my understanding, one with that aspect of life that we call God. That is, that God is not separate from us, but that we and God are one. That's my understanding. That's what I was told in my conversations with God. Now, I bring that up for a reason. A lot of what we're talking about here is are notions that are not agreed to or not fully understood by a great many other people. They might even say, oh, nonsense. Here we go again, Neil, all this. But you know what? What we need right now on the planet are idea heroes. People who will stand for and step into the living of notions that we know ahead of time, many people will disagree with. Let me give you just one or two simple examples. Galileo was an idea hero. In 1614, he said, the earth revolves around the sun. And the church at the time, which was a huge, huge influence on humanity, still is today, but was really huge in that century, disagreed. The church had taught for hundreds of years that the sun revolved around the earth. It was the church's notion that the earth was the center of the universe and that humanity was God's greatest creation. And when Galileo came out with his findings, the church condemned him and placed him under house arrest. And he lived under house arrest for the rest of his life. But he would not renounce his idea because he knew that it was true that the earth revolved around the sun. He was a primary example of an idea hero. I'm going to give you another more contemporary example, a woman named Barbara Mcclintock. She's an American geneticist. And in 1947, she discovered what she called jumping genes. And she was astonished at what she had discovered, but she realized that it explained why certain characteristics were not inherited through a bloodline, whether it is plants or animals or human beings or what it was. She found that genes can actually jump from one chromosome to another without any particular direct line, and they can actually jump through time and space. And everybody in the profession told her she was wrong about that. In fact, some said that she was crazy and that she should stop talking like this or she would lose her credibility in the field. And they all of the colleagues that she knew in the field of genetics were telling her, don't talk about it. And they called it junk DNA. They said that what she had discovered was what they labeled junk DNA. I'm telling you this story because in 1983, everybody changed their mind because, gosh, Barbara Mcclintock won the Nobel Prize in Science and Medicine for the discovery that she refused to renounce, even though everyone else was telling her that she was totally wrong to think of such a thing. So she was another idea hero, and we all have a whole list. I could give you a list of many, many, many hundreds of idea heroes, people that stood for something when they knew that no one else would stand for it. And no one else, or very, very few others, would agree to it. So what we're looking for today in this day and age are people who are willing to be idea heroes, people who are willing to stand up for a notion that still many people might disagree with or might not fully understand. Some of them are even calling it nonsense. Some are even calling it blasphemy and apostasy. Some people have read Conversations with God. And the notion that we are all one and many other notions in that dialogue are called blasphemy. I think of George Bernard Shaw, of course, who said, all great truths begin as blasphemies. And it's true. All great discoveries, when they're first brought up, are not recognized by those because it violates the current order of things. So we are inviting you here today to become an idea hero, to decide that you're going to stand for and step into the living of notions about who we are, our relationship to each other, and how we can interact in a way that elevates the entire civilization if we simply accept a single notion placed into just a few words. We are all one. And I invite you today to just consider that, look into that, think about that deeply. What would that do to change our political, our social, our economic, and our spiritual interactions with each other if we simply decided that there's really no separation between us, that separation is the biggest illusion of humans? Give it some thought and see how you would go through just this day. How would you go through this day if you thought that you were one with everyone and everything? And in what way might it change the way you interact? And in fact, the way you even act with yourself? Give it some thought. See if it might not change your mind. But be careful. That snowball rolls down the hill, and pretty soon it starts to pick up steam, and you'll find yourself living in a whole new way. And that's what we're looking for. Idea heroes who are willing to look at life and live life in a whole new way.
Yeah, boy, what Love the descriptions, love the invitation. And one way to think about this is, what would it be like now if we didn't accept the invitation and we just lived our life to the end of our life with this notion of separation? I'm separate from from others and the earth and God, and etc. And then we go into the afterlife, and we realize, oh my God, my whole notion of ultimate reality was out of whack. I was pointed and walking this way my whole life, and ultimate reality is that way. So there are implications to this. The beautiful thing is when we accept the invitation that you shared here, Neil, is our lives really just become beautiful and get better. We were talking about these implications earlier in this program, where we become more loving, and we connected at a deeper level with our partner, and the clerk at the grocery store now means something. Our lives, it's the furthest thing from sacrifice. It's actually, this is where we find icing on the cake, is it not, Neil?
When we serve others, we're serving ourselves. That was one of the extraordinary revelations that I received in my conversations with God. Neil, I know you think that you're going to be serving others and it'll be really a noble thing to do. Well, it is a noble thing to do, but be understanding. Serving others is really a form of serving yourself, because the soul, and we do have souls, of course, there's an essential question here. Who am I? Am I a physical being, or am I a spiritual entity? If I'm simply a physical being, like a bird in the sky or a fish in the sea, we have a whole different discussion here. But if I think that I'm a spiritual entity, now the discussion expands. If I really am a spiritual entity, what am I doing in the physical body? What's the point of life? Why am I here? And those are questions that we need to answer for ourselves. And when we answer those questions in a particular way, suddenly everything becomes very, very clear. And so we understand what we're doing here and how we can move into the fullest expression of that.
Fantastic. Let me share, on the screen, we've got lots of questions, so thank you, viewers. We're going to get to some questions here shortly. One of the things they're sharing is they're monitoring the viewers. We have viewers from Moldova, Thailand, Malaysia, France, Italy, Holland, Germany, Norway, Switzerland, Croatia, the UK, of course, United States and Canada. I can't read. Costa Rica, Japan, South Africa, Zambia, Ghana, Israel, Scotland, Denmark. So, hey, thank you for viewers that are all over the world that are tuning in. Really, really nice to have you with us. So let's go watch a little clip here. There's a short promotional video that Neil made that focuses on this changing humanity's future. Let's go take a look at it, and then Neil and I are going to come back and talk about it.
Hello, I'm Neil Donald Walsh, and I want to invite you to partner with me in changing humanity's future. As I'm sure you know, our planet and our way of life are under huge strain right now. But there is a remedy, a path to a sustainable and flourishing future. The path is in our consciousness. It's about expanding our consciousness. I'm a co-founder of Humanity's Team, and we've created a streaming platform that supports the conscious journey, the journey that all of us are on. It's capable of teaching and reaching every home on the planet. I personally have over 70 programs on the Humanity Stream Plus platform. I'm opening up one of my masterclass modules so that you can check it out for free. Click the link below and enjoy the program. Then be sure to explore the entire conscious streaming library. Oh, and remember, we are changing humanity's future, so get ready to play big.
A powerful clip there, Neil. So let me just bring in, I surfaced this earlier, so top line, changing humanity's future, then how? By elevating conscious living. By doing what? By living consciously. So we're now talking about all of these things. So we have this planet going on 8 billion people. where some of us that are privileged really have been around thought leaders and best practices to living consciously. We get it, and we're actually probably many of you viewers are well down this path, really deeply understanding and living consciously. But for a lot of the planet, this isn't true. We're not there yet. So then creating a streaming platform that could reach out into every home in every major language with these best practices of living consciously became important to us in Humanities Team. So then several years ago, we created this revolutionary streaming platform. We call it revolutionary because it's one click. It's not the normal do these 7 things and then you can start your class. It's just, it's like what we're used to with Netflix or Amazon. You click once and you go into the program and it just takes you down into the program. And if you can still see the programs horizontally, that if you want to click over to another program, a science program, and then a program on yoga or something, you can do that and then come back. Also, it's a streaming platform. So on Roku or Google Pay or Apple TV or whatever the device, you can watch your program. You're not limited to just sitting in front of your computer. So these are some of the things about the platform. There are other things. It's a community, which is where the plus comes in. So Neil has 72 programs currently on the Stream Plus platform. We're going to put a link in the window for this first. He shares. He's opened up a free module to one of his master classes. So our final frontier, his first module is knowing how to know God. I think we're putting that on the screen here. When you click on that link and go to that link, you'll have about a 30-minute free module, which is the beginning of one of his master classes on the Humanities Stream Plus platform. So just as Neil shared in the video clip, he's saying watch it, enjoy it, and then look around the platform at what Michael Bernard Beckwith has, and Greg Braden has, and Bruce Lipton has, and Lynn McTaggart has, and Barbara Marks Hubbard has, and we could go on. There are many. This is a partnership. We created the streaming platform. I have a conscious leadership program myself, so we have some of our own programs, but this is mostly a partnership with the Neil Donald Walshes and the thought leaders, Nassim Harriman. You could see him. You can see the heart math leaders there, Panache Desai, Mark Nepo, Deborah Poneman, Joan Borosinko, Thomas Hubel. So all of these amazing thought leaders from all over the world partnered with us and brought their master classes to our platform. As you know, we're a 501c3 nonprofit, so we're not lining our pockets here, coining money. That's not that we're a nonprofit. Our focus is what Neil and I are talking about: changing humanity's future, elevating conscious living as the thing. So all of our funding is getting plowed back into creating more of these programs where we like to do collaborative teaching, where 1 + 1, Thomas Hubel and Joan Borosinko equals 5, not 2. Or Greg Braden and Nassim Harriman, 1 + 1 is equaling 5. Because the science that they bring in, this arc of power and cohesion, is substantial. They teach together incredibly powerfully. So this is one of the things that's unusual about our platform. The other is we offer this live mentoring as part of the program. So let me go through some of the things that are coming along here in this area of community and live programs, because even though right now as we're scrolling this, you can see all these programs, hundreds of incredible conscious living programs. The other thing that maybe is even bigger and maybe more important when we talk to our partners in this, our participants, people that are subscribers to Humanities Stream Plus, are the live programs. So we do viewing parties Sunday night. On Sunday night, this coming Sunday night at 5 p.m. Pacific, we're doing a viewing party where we're watching Technology, Consciousness, and Evolution, Module 6. Okay, that's with Greg Braden, Bruce Lipton, and Lynn McTaggart. Then on Tuesday, I think it's at 1 p.m. Pacific next week, we're watching Module 7 of Technology, Consciousness, and Evolution. So we do these watch parties that are 2 a week, where we're all coming together and watching together, and then getting into a discussion like the one Neil and I are having here now. As well, we do the live mentoring. So Bruce Lipton is coming in soon to do an hour of live mentoring. You're invited to all of the live programs, all of the viewing parties. Then after Bruce Lipton, Lynn McTaggart. Then after Lynn McTaggart is this other masterclass just being launched now with this very first cohort going through called Creative Mastery. And James Twyman will come in for an hour live. And then Barnett Bain, his co-instructor, will come in for an hour live. So these are just some of the things that are right around the corner. When all of the things that Neil and I are talking about, living consciously, where we're embracing this new way of living, where we understand we're a part of the one. You know, we're living in ultimate reality, not some old version of what it might be, but ultimate reality, where we understand, you know, my God, Neil uses the metaphor of the wave to the ocean. My God, I'm a wave to the ocean of God. Wow, how cool is that? Neil says, let's make waves together, you know, which fantastic. Let's make waves together.
It's a wonderful metaphor that I was given in my conversations with God. When I talk to audiences, somebody inevitably says, "Oh no, yeah, I know you think you're God." I don't know. Everybody relax. We're not suggesting that we are the totality of God, but what we are saying is that, as Steve just mentioned, we are a wave on the ocean of God. It's a wonderful metaphor. And is the wave something other than the ocean? Is it separate from the ocean? No. It is the ocean simply arising in individual form and in a magnificent, powerful, very special kind of form. And when that expression is complete, the wave recedes back into the ocean whence it came. And that's a marvelous metaphor of who we really are. So consider yourself a wave on the ocean of divinity. And like Steve said, let's go out and make waves. Let's demonstrate our divinity. And by the way, when I use a phrase like demonstrate divinity, people often say, well, what does that look like? You know what? There's no one way it looks. Here's what I promise you. If you decide that your life is about demonstrating divinity, and which is, by the way, demonstrating who you really are as an aspect of divinity, if you decide that that is what your life is about, because we are all one, and what you demonstrate for yourself, you demonstrate for everyone else, and vice versa, if that's your decision, then how to demonstrate divinity in a moment-to-moment experience will be made clear to you in that moment. We can't tell you right here, right now, what it will look like. But I promise you, if you decide that tomorrow you're going to start living your life in order to demonstrate our unity, our oneness, and our divinity, ways to do that will arise for you. It'll be, in fact, at the supermarket or on the street or perhaps right across the kitchen table. But you'll be very clear, here it is. Here's the moment. Here's the chance for me to say, to speak, to announce, to declare, to express, and to behave in a way that demonstrates not only who I am, but who that other person is as well. And then you get to do something that we are invited to do in conversations with God. Give people back to themselves. If all of us chose to do that, just for now, we could literally change the world virtually overnight. It's up to us. Who wants to be an idea hero? Who wants to step into something radically revolutionary?
So I hope, I know a lot of viewers are nodding their head, saying, I like this, you know, and I've felt into this, and this is, and I know what it is to live consciously. And just want to invite you viewers, boy, stay with us, because there's so much more we're going to be doing this year together on this topic, just inviting people in, standing together, living this way, inviting people all over the world to live this way. And then when that conversation happens on your porch in Japan, in New Zealand, all of these places where viewers are coming in from today, and they're saying, what can we do? And more it's going to pop. Of course, what can we do? It's what we're doing now. We're living consciously, where we see the world for what it is. We understand that there's this beautiful diversity and unity and oneness, and of which we are a part. We're waves under the ocean of God, you know. Isn't this going to be fun and beautiful? So get ready, and we're just going to invite you to really come in. This is the first program Neil and I've done that's devoted solely to this new theme that we've been talking about all the way from late last year. So get ready. very excited about this. Now, let me share also on Humanity Stream Plus. All of these programs, I haven't brought in pricing. It's $3.99 a year. So most of you go through master classes, take transformational education programs, and the pricing is $297 or $349 or $397 or $549 or something. So this is all of these hundreds of programs are $3.99 for the full year with all of the live programs. So it's about the price of a single master class, or about $1 a day, and you're just bringing in then and part of this community that is living in this incredibly fruitful way, and that's coming together as a global, we're not using the word movement here. I like the words you were choosing the other day, Neil, but coming together globally to really live consciously and in our homes, in our workplaces, creating conscious businesses in our countries and all over the world, so that there's no more Ukraines. It can't happen. When we're conscious, you can't have a Ukraine. You can't. There's not another country trying to come in and kill people in our country. You can't do that when you're conscious.
This is a global undertaking, and it's an opportunity for us to join together, to join hands. And I want to emphasize again that life will show you in a moment-to-moment basis how you may demonstrate our unity, our oneness, and our divinity if you make the commitment to do so, if you decide to become an idea hero. So if you're looking for us to tell you today, here are the, like Steve said at the beginning, here are the 10 things you can do. We can't give you a list of those 10 things, but I promise you that as you move through life tomorrow and the day after and the day after, opportunities will arise and you will see, here's that moment that Steve and Neil were talking about when I get to express my divinity, my unity, and my understanding, my consciousness, the fact that I'm living consciously now. That's what this moment, and by the way, that's what this moment was designed for. If you think that these things will suddenly arise in your life by accident or by coincidence, think again. You are calling them forth and bringing them to your reality to give you precisely the opportunity for which your soul yearns and to which it is calling you now.
Amen and amen. That's why you're here today, viewers. So be sure, we're going to now segue over to questions that are coming in, but I want to, again, invite you to watch that video, that free module that's opened up in Our Final Frontier. There are 24 modules and there are 3 mentoring programs in this masterclass called Our Final Frontier. This is the first module. It's about 30 minutes, and it's a jewel. It's a real treasure chest. Check it out. Also, I just want to mention, Neil, we referenced 72 programs. He just created a new masterclass recently with Michael Bernard Beckwith called Creating or Following Your Soul's Calling. So be sure to check that one out too. That is a real jewel. It just came out at the beginning of this year. Okay, so let's go to questions. Neil, Catherine says, could you please address how depression, anxiety, and PTSD might actually allow for positive spiritual growth?
I think that when they do, that's been my experience, PTSD and depression, those emotional assaults, I want to say, on our being that arise because of circumstances outside of us, they can be wonderful opportunities if we allow ourselves to not try to resist it. Conversations, God says, what you resist persists, but step fully into it and then look at the opportunity that it presents to all of us. I went through my times of depression, my times of fear and anxiety. I went through many of those, so-called negative experiences and negative emotions. But conversations with God convinced me to, if I saw it all as an opportunity, as simply a rung on the ladder that was taking me higher and higher and higher into the fullest expression of who I really am, then I allowed myself to just experience it, to express it, not to deny it, but then we can step upward from it and use it as a stepping stone to get to where we really are wanting to go and to experience who we really truly are. So don't let yourself be discouraged by those experiences, but notice, a stepping stone. I see now what's occurring. like a child learning their multiplication tables. There's a time when we don't understand what 3 times 9 is, and then suddenly we do. And so that's what this is all about. And let yourself experience those emotions fully and completely, and not resist them, but be grateful for all of the stepping stones that take us to where we really want to go. Everybody has had that kind of an emotion. Just so you know, I know a fellow who lived a few years ago once went off into a garden. I think it was called Gethsemane. And I think even he had enormous depression at the time. And he said, if you could take this cup from my lips. But then he added something quite extraordinary. But not my will, but thine. And in that moment, he transformed his sadness, his depression, his angst, his upset into an expression of his divinity. And he invited all of us to do the same. When his pals, the people who walked around with him, they called him disciples, when his friends were surprised at his ability to make those kinds of changes in his life and in the life of others, you know what he said? Why are you so amazed? These things and more shall you do also. I'm quoting the man directly. Was he a bamboozler? Was he just saying things that were not true? Or was he telling us what our opportunities really are? You choose.
Yeah, no kidding. And then we created a whole new method of time, AD and BC, around this individual, his teachings and that he brought to the world. Amazing. Yeah. So even today, as there's people are troubled. The Ukraine, now this Roe versus Wade thing is coming out. Climate change, COVID, on and on. So there are examples to follow here. Very incredible examples to follow as we experience our own divinity and bring our own highest expression out in the world. So Neil, here's something from Trish. She says, my question is, how can I help my children to like each other, never mind love each other? They are 10 and 12 and fight more than any other people I have ever met. I do not know how to teach them to love the world and everything in it if they cannot even love their own family.
Help them to understand that differences do not have to create divisions. That the things that they're arguing and quarreling about and deciding that they don't like each other, all part. By the way, just as a parent, I've had 9 children. I have 9 children, so I've been through all of that, and it's all part of the natural process of maturation. There comes a time when we're seeking to really identify with ourselves and find out who we really are, and grab onto our identity as we have defined it and decided about it in our mind. When you're 12 years old, you're moving into that incredible time of your life when you move through your teenage years and so forth. So it's perfectly natural as one parent to another. Do not become upset or panicky about this, but help the children to understand, hey, you know what? You have different ideas. You have contrasts do not have to create conflict. Differences do not have to create divisions, and then model the behavior. Because if you model that behavior for them, ultimately they will begin to receive the message from you about who they really are by noticing who you really are.
Yes, beautiful. And also, Trish, let's see. Yeah, the question is dropped from the screen so others could come up. But we've all, as parents, experienced this. So, very good wisdom there, Neil. Thank you for that. So let's
and by the way, I experienced it in my life, in my own life. I didn't like my brother, my dear brother Brian, from the time I was 12 to the time I was 17. Then one day I woke up and I went, you know what? He's really a nice person. And I love this guy. And I came to, love my brother dearly. But, it's perfectly normal during those growing years that we find ourselves, needing to simply establish our identity. Let it happen, but let it happen without making anyone terribly wrong about it. Just step into the experience with them and explain to them what's going on.
Yes, right on target. Right on target. Let me go to Lavina's question. And again, viewers, thank you. And sorry, we're not going to be able to get to all of your questions here. Wow, there's a lot of interest here in the program. So Lavina says, Neil, you've spoken about these topics for a relatively long time. What we resist persists. So maybe a comment more than a question, but I'll bring that in.
If we allow ourselves to embrace with gratitude the experiences of our life, we will come to an astonishing discovery. This has been my understanding and my experience. The astonishing discovery that we come to is that everything that happens in our own individual life and expansively in the life of our civilization, all the events of our life, all the day-to-day occurrences are ultimately designed to produce benefit for all of us. If we see them as beneficial and don't resist what is occurring. Now, by the way, when I say don't resist, I don't mean don't change. I'm not suggesting that we don't attempt to alter or change for the better that which we are experiencing and that which we are observing. But resisting something and changing something are two entirely different processes. When we change something, we work with it and we accept it for what it is, and then we move through it and alter it and change it for the better. But resisting something is a negative energy that produces negative expressions of everyone, from everyone around us who don't agree with our decision. So, I never resist anything. I let it be exactly what it is. And then I decide to make a change, whatever change I wish to make that allows me to experience the next grandest version of who I am and what I want to see outside of myself as well. So what you resist persists. What you look at, see clearly for what it is, then completely disappears. Check it out. The 10 Illusions of Humans will assist you in that way. You'll find the 10 Illusions of Humans in the book called Communion with God.
Yeah, boy, and that's a beautiful book, too. 9 Conversations with God books. Yeah, and that's one of them. Incidentally, tomorrow's God is where you'll see the whole discussion between Neil and God about humanity's team. Really pretty exciting discussion there. So now somebody on your page, Kelly, came in with, I brought in earlier the Founding Fathers and creating a sovereign nation and so on. And Kelly rightly says, Founding Fathers, really? Your America was built on genocide, which is true. So yeah, I wasn't, when I was bringing in this notion of Founding Fathers and sovereign nation, I wasn't trying to crown with glory, these people. I think in their day, that was current wisdom. Benjamin Franklin, actually, I just finished reading his biography by Walter Isaacson, and he was a pretty marvelous individual that really did love and work closely with indigenous people. And he was for representative government. He didn't want 2 houses where one would be equal states. He wanted just proportional representative government, period. So there was some enlightened thinking back then.
And it's not just about the Founding Fathers, it's about the Founding Mothers as well. If you really want to know why John Adams was so influential in American politics, read the story of Abigail Adams, his wife. If John Adams were here today, he'd say, Abby was the inspiration, the strength, the courage behind most of what it is that I brought into the world. So it's not just the Founding Fathers, but the Founding Mothers as well. The ladies and the gentlemen of our human species who brought us the opportunity to move forward in our experience of our humanity, all as now new members of humanity's team. Thank you for joining us here today. It's been lovely to be with you.
Yes. So founding the women and their rightful role even today. Wow. So many women that are on the global stage playing powerful roles. So, but also just before we leave this, Kelly, let me just say, as with this whole conscious living, this whole program is devoted to is helping people to see as we look back at the United States and its founding. Things like genocide, that what the heck were we doing? These indigenous people, this was their land. So there's wisdom in this whole conscious living thing where we look back and see through new eyes. And I think I would guess out in the future we'll make reparations. Remember Marianne Williamson, when she was running for office, this was one of the planks in her in her platform. So now we're actually out of time. I said at the beginning of the hour, gosh darn, the hour just goes so fast. Here we are at 2 minutes after the hour. What an incredible program this has been. So I want to thank you, Neil Donald Walsh, co-founder of Humanities Team, deep friend and partner, and for being here. I want to thank you, viewers, for spending this quality time with us. You're going to see a lot more of Neil Donald Walsh and Humanities Team this year with this whole theme of changing humanity's future. We're going to be inviting you in to stand on the field with us, contribute to this organization, this movement in all the ways that you can. This is big, big, big. We need to elevate this notion of conscious living so that it's in discussions all over the world, many discussions that it's not in at all right now. So thank you, viewers. Thank you, Neil Donald Walsh. Jim Gray is here in the studio with me. We'll pull the camera back so you can see Jim. He's made this here. There's Jim over there. I'm waving to you from the couch. There's Jim that's put this whole program together. Jim, thank you. He's our technical genius. I want to also thank Timothy Noah, Karen Gordon, whose communications team made everybody aware of this program and future programs. Like next week, we're doing a program on conscious living as it relates to a book that talks about our moment of choice is the name of the book. It's now going to paperback, and some of the authors of the book are going to join me. I got to write chapter 11 on conscious business for that book. So looking forward to that program next week, again at 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 noon Eastern. So thank you to all of my colleagues and partners in Humanities Team for making this possible. Neil and I get to just sit here and yak because they kind of take care of all of the other stuff. Again, you'll see lots more of Neil on this incredibly important topic, changing humanity's future. And invite you viewers, come back and join us. Neil will be with us here many times out in the future. And let's create this thing together, right? What Neil and I are talking about, changing humanity's future, where perhaps you brought yourself to this program and where you're very familiar with conscious living. It's why you've been tuned in for an hour. And where we really elevate this process in our own lives and invite people in our workplace and people all over the world to come and stand with us, live consciously, and then create this whole new glorious future, a sustainable future with a flourishing planet. And we no longer sit on porches or on couches and ask, oh my gosh, it's not so good out. What are we going to do? We move past that. We need to, there's a point where a conversation like that makes sense, but we're now moving past that on to what we're going to be and do about that. Okay, so thanks for being here. Have a fantastic day and rest of the week. Love, peace, and blessings, everybody.